And Bob was always particularly touched as well, I know, by the fact that what Jack Lowe Sr. did was, he was buying these essays and he was passing them out sort of 10 at a time to groups of folks within the organization. And his way of operating, that is Jack Lowe Sr.'s way of operating, was to invite people to come together for a half day at his home and to talk about the essay. And so he basically had sort of the first reading dialogue group, which is now a program of ours and the way we communicate servant leadership. But Jack Lowe Sr. just did that instinctively, was ordering copies, and through that slow process, 10 people at a time, maybe once a month or something like that, he began to disseminate the idea and to get people to think about servant leadership. And I think that was one of the most low-key and insightful ways that I know of to, in a very non-threatening way, get maybe a new idea, if you will, to people, and just to have people talk about what does that mean to me. Over the years, that has evolved into a far more sophisticated way in which they do education and training internally within TD Industries with servant leadership. And Jack Lowe Jr. and McGee Cooper and others have been involved for decades now with that company around servant leadership training. But I've just always loved the story of, it's kind of the combination of Bob Greenleaf sending that essay out, of somebody totally unknown to him ordering hundreds of copies, and why are you doing this? And then what emerged from that, the relationship that Bob had with both Jack Lowe Sr. and Jack Lowe Jr., both of whom served on our board at various times. Jack Lowe Jr. still does and is the chair of the Greenleaf Center. And the impact which the idea then had on an organization which has now been in the top 5 or 10 each year that the Fortune list of the 100 best companies to work for has been published, and is increasingly being visited by people who want to learn more about what servant leadership looks like in their organization. So.